quiet. Wait, here's a light. I'm stuck inside this spooky mansion till morning for reasons. Why do you need to know? I don't remember. Anyways, I've seen some crazy stuff. Stuff I can and see. But since I'm stuck in here for a while, might as well talk about / praise a banger. It's about to get a season 2 released, and you've obviously read the title, Dandadan. Dandadan is a series that's been getting a lot of love from the fans, largely due to the anime, but even before that, the manga was kicking on all cylinders and attracting a pretty large audience of die-hard glazers and people calling it peak, but they're not wrong. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, Dandadan is a action sci-fi series with a lot of fingers in other genres, but in the beginning it starts off as a odd couple running into sci-fi and supernatural problems a la X-Files, where they're constantly dealing with both. I really want to get into the story right away, but first let's take a step back and look at the creator behind the series, Yukinobu Tatsu, who's not only doing this amazing constant flow of art, but is also doing the writing and just generating this amazing world that we get to keep taking a look into. He's quite well known for being an assistant on early parts of Chainsaw Man, among other things, but this was his breakout, and he's obviously bringing heat with the art, but not just in the highly detailed or highly fluid motion scenes, which, one, I'm a big fan of, and I am definitely trying to steal from, but also he's quite good at very cartoony, very straightforward storytelling, something a lot of the high detail guys tend to miss out on. You're not going to get lost in the fight scenes or action scenes, despite them often being very abstract in their rules and how things will go down. Characters seem to be a big focus in the writing, where this is less of a plot like continuing to unfold, which, believe me, it does, and the ideas and world just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but there's no sacrifice at all when it comes to having the characters be the ones doing it, and there's a lot of focus and attention being put on the relationships between the characters. That's what you're staying there for, besides the obviously batshit insane stuff going on every other page. In the beginning chapters, some of these characters are a little mysterious and you get little bits, but as time goes on, you get a bigger picture and you like characters more and more, besides our main duo of Momo and Okarun. There's even style changes as they develop more of a personality. Okarun, his hair changes as a result of the powers he's gaining, and he becomes a lot less of a wallflower and someone who can't talk to anyone. We get to see them mature their social skills and lose preconceptions they had that would have prevented any of these people from ever talking. Alright, let's get the vague stuff over with. You should definitely read this. If you want to go in blind, now's your chance to stop, but I don't think it could hurt. Obviously, if you like supernatural stuff, you should pick this book up. You're gonna like it. Even if that's not really your thing, this is something that goes beyond genre. It's something that most people are gonna really like, and I highly suggest you do at least try the series. They're free on the Jump Plus app, I believe the opening. So, what's the risk? I, however, will be reading them in my physical volumes that I cherish.
Tonight we're doing the walkie-talkie
Wait,
ritual.
what's that?
To find out if there's any spirits lingering, guys, smash the like button right now. Let's hit 50,000 likes. This is going to be insane. Honestly, guys, there's nothing wrong with being gay, but I'm straight, guys. Like, I have no interest in the same sex at all, guys. But look at this thing. Oh my god, it's like purple. Just one sip of this will turn you gay for 1 hour, guys. This is insane.
What, you think it's actually gonna turn me gay? Like I'm gonna fall in love with you or something?
Yeah, guys, like if he drinks, I don't know. I have no idea. Do it. All right, guys, let's smash right now.
Okay. Back to story. So, in the beginning, it starts off with our female lead, Momo, getting dumped. And we get a little taste for her normal personality, where she's throwing head kicks at a moment's notice. And she's definitely a popular person in the school. So it makes it all the stranger when she steps up and defends Okarun, who's, for all intents and purposes, the stereotypical geek, awkward, not loser, but a social loser anyway. When he's getting teased for the books he's reading, where he's getting paper balls thrown at him as he's reading about Obama going to Mars and reptiles controlling the world. He mistakes this act of kindness or maybe pity for wanting to be friends and interest in his hyperfixation special interest. And Momo plays along with it, which leads to a bet where, because Okarun somehow doesn't believe in the supernatural, only the sci-fi, conspiracy, cryptid type stuff, Momo decides to make him go to a haunted tunnel and for her to go to an abductee area. Very quickly you get a sense of their chemistry that shouldn't really make sense, but is still somehow believable and very entertaining to watch them argue. Once they arrive at their respective places for the bet, they get on the phone and start talking to each other, and they kind of get lost in conversation. Momo talks about her history with why she believes in the supernatural, and it goes into a story about her grandma and how she's been ridiculed in the past for her beliefs, but she believes in it because her grandma does. And she's the only family Momo really has. It, of course, gets awkward with Okarun, but when he's pressed on why he believes what he believes, he's a little more effusive. When all of a sudden, he's confronted by a gross old lady ghost, Turbo Granny, who he tries to run away from but has no hope of actually doing so. While Momo suddenly gets confronted by businessmen aliens named the Serpians? I don't know. Serp something. Leave me alone. A male-only clone alien species experiment on her so they can have sex and reproduce like any other species. This leads to one of the most iconic lines ever. This might be a turnoff for some people who think it's just way too weird for them to get into, but this is where the slightly risque, slight sexual part of the book comes in, where the granny wants first is schlong and then ends up taking Okarun's balls as a source of power as she possesses him. When things get a little too weird with the Serpoians and their experiment, Okarun shows up and saves the day. He's running on ghost powers that the aliens can't seem to really handle. And as soon as they flip the script on him, Momo's now been awakened because of their experiments and their telekinesis on her, where she's unlocked her own telekinesis abilities, possibly due to her origins, since her grandma is a spirit medium. Through their efforts, they're able to get out of the UFO and into an even worse situation, something they're constantly having to do, going from in the frying pan into the molten lava pit 500 feet below. This time it's Turbo Granny, the one possessing Ken. Once they get out of there, they head to Momo's house, which she thinks will help defend them against all this crazy, weird stuff going on. But Okarun is constantly on the verge of transforming into the Turbo Granny version of himself, where he is possessed and will likely do something he can't control. Here they come across the Flatwoods monster, or at least a sumo version of it, which starts the trend of a really fun thing where, while the Turbo Granny is a folklore, local legend type thing in Japan, we're going to see a lot of cryptids make their way into the series over and over in a really fun way, where it's not exactly what you're expecting. Every time there's going to be an added dimension rather than just a plug-in of a pop culture thing. As they fight, they start to learn a little bit more about the rules of the world that they inhabit, where when they're fighting something like this, they're kind of in a separate dimension, or they're trapped in an area, depending on what type of threat they're facing. But soon Okarun gets a hold of his powers and is able to actually use them, and Momo develops hers even more. They have to deal with the Turbo Granny again, but Seiko, Momo's grandma, is able to step in and save Momo from Turbo Granny, which introduces her as a badass, and she's the only one that really seems to understand much of what's going on at all, despite refusing to believe aliens have any hand in anything or even exist. She's a very welcome addition. She's an elder that they can consult and she'll sometimes save the day like a Gandalf or any gray-haired old person. But she likes to get into the fray too. She's not some whimpering old lady. She's a badass through and through, who people love to thirst over in a very weird way. Anyway, with her being added into the fold, it starts the non-stop bullet train that is Dandadan's insane plot that just keeps on going at dizzying speed, where as soon as you think you understand what's going on in the story and what's going to be played with, they just pour a ton of pieces out onto the board, and that includes characters and whole concepts. I was planning on going deeper into the series like the first 5 volumes, but this only talks about really the first few chapters, and I think it's best if you read it yourself and get lost in what crazy shit's gonna happen next, whether it's gonna be the Loch Ness Monster or Bloody Mary or someone crazy showing up. Wait, is that morning light peeking through? Well, it's time to get out of here. I'll go back to my nice comfy cave where I'm all alone and start inking my book that I'm working on, Run Like Hell. It's a very fun Mad Max chase and car battle type story that I hope to share more about very soon. There will be a video up not too long from now about it. Anyway, have a good one. Bye.